Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. On behalf of everyone at Rev.io, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Before we begin the presentation, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. First, audio will automatically come in through your computer speakers. However, if you're having trouble using your speakers or unhappy with the quality of the sound, you can also dial in via the phone number and access code listed on the screen. A recorded version of this webinar will be emailed to you within 2 weeks and available for on-demand access from the Rev.io website. And last but not least, we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the event, so please submit your questions during the webinar through the GoToWebinar control panel at any point during the live presentation. For those of you just joining us, welcome. Today, Tania Sheppard from Datto will be sharing her knowledge about navigating the security market and strategies to stay ahead. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker. Tania is a 20-year-old channel veteran who began her career in two-tiered distribution at MicroAge in Arizona. Moving into the network security arena, Tania continued her channel support role managing VARs for Symantec. After moving to Northern California from Arizona, she transitioned into the adjoining channel world of MSPs, helping them achieve sales and marketing success and providing total data management to their clients. Tania is a channel development manager in the Bay Area at Datto, thoroughly enjoying working and playing with partners and contributing a small part in the continued success of the MSP channel. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Tania.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I know we've got a lot of East Coasters. I'm actually on the West Coast myself. And today I want to chat with you about how you can learn and make some money from the epidemic of ransomware and all these other cybersecurity threats that we're experiencing at the moment. I know that we tend to talk a lot about ransomware, but the fact of the matter is the end users don't. Sometimes I think we get a bit burnt out on it being in the channel, but what I want to do is make sure that we keep your clients and your prospects up on the knowledge, because they're the ones that need to know about it so you can help them out. Quick bit about Datto, won't go on, but we're quite large. We merged with Autotask last year. We've got about 22 offices globally, 14,000 partners, and we only work through the channel. So we only work through our MSP partners. So here are the ways that we're going to chat today about the ways for you guys to profit from these situations. Business continuity, very, very important. It's not about backup anymore. It's about continuity for your clients, how to keep them running, how to restore their data. Number two, educating them on the security regulations and the current threats, so they know you're the standing expert in the field and in your general vicinity and those kinds of things. And thirdly, backing up customers' SaaS data, which is equally important to their physical data on-prem. Right, so the market is definitely growing. In 2016, 30% of end user clients, SMBs, were having outsourcing at least one piece of their IT to guys like you, to the MSP world. And in 2017, it jumped up to 50%. And now we're in 2018, so we'll have some statistics in a few months. But as you can tell, it's growing, it's not shrinking. They still need your help. SMBs are continuing to invest in new technology because they have to. They've got to run their businesses, they've got to stay ahead. But the fact of the matter is there will be challenges for them. As we said, regulations, they're not going anywhere. We've all seen the additional regulations in Canada, in Australia, in Great Britain with GDPR. And these are coming over here. As you probably know, you're hearing about them and you're learning about them. And one of the key things is to stay ahead for your clients. Like I said, be it industry regulations or state regulations, federal regulations. When you're the standing expert, they're going to have to come to you to help them out, make sure they stay ahead and they're not in any violation, because that costs them money. Security, and we have been all talking about it for years and years, but that doesn't mean it makes it any easier. In fact, it's a little bit more complex now. And they need to understand it's an entire strategy. They can't just throw a firewall on the edge and think they're safe. And you guys know that, but the question is letting them know, putting a strategy in place that is, it's got the processes for their staff. It's got the products that they're going to put. and all of the above. And that's your job to let them know and how to be the expert in the field. And the stack, that's, again, things are just getting more and more complicated, and most end users, they're focusing on their business and they're not going to be up to speed on how to put all the pieces together to run it properly. And that's for you. It says they'll be scrambling. They really are. And these end users need your help, and more, they need you to let them know that they need your help. Navigating the experience. You're sitting on this call right now because it's your job to stay ahead of technology, to understand what's the offerings out there, be it Datto or anyone else. You're out there, you're learning it. That's not the end user's job. They're really relying on you to find out what is out there, what works best for them. So you can come back and go, right, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to protect your environment. This is how you're going to optimally run your business. You know, I'd like you to, this is your line of business application. Let's put it into a whole stack that makes sense. And that's what you're there for, to help them out. $40 billion is about the opportunity today that's going through the channel, and it's projected to be about 72 billion in about 3 years. And I always look at that number and I think 2022, what isn't that in about 10 or 20 years? And then you realize it's actually 2018 already, and we're already McFly. So anyway, but the point is, massive opportunity for you guys, and let's get on with it and find out how to do that. As I said in the beginning, we're rethinking backup, aren't we? It's not backup anymore, it's recovery. Ransomware is not going anywhere, unfortunately. It's just getting more and more prevalent, and especially in the SMB world, because these cyber criminals know that SMBs typically aren't the ones that are protected, and they're the ones that will pay up because potentially they don't have their data in a place that can be restored in an efficient manner. So they'd rather pay the dollars, even if it's a few. Problem with that is they'll get hacked again. They'll be attacked again because they're sitting ducks. And these guys aren't those guys in the basement anymore, sitting in their mum's basement, you know, messing about with things. These are professional criminals. They're global. And they are conglomerates around the world, and it's not a joke. And it sounds a little bit melodramatic, and I don't mean it to, but the fact of the matter is sometimes we have to scare our end users so that they understand what's really going on and that they are at risk. This is a new virus that's a bit frightening, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called popcorn time. And I know you're familiar with when you get ransomware, you get an email, everything's encrypted, and the only thing that isn't is the one email requesting dollars in the form of Bitcoin, typically. Well, this popcorn time gives you an email, says the same thing, except you can pay your ransom or you can infect 2 other computers. Think about the ramifications of that. You literally get the email, here, pay your $250, $2,000, or if you send this virus link to 2 other email addresses, we'll unencrypt your data. It's really quite depraved if you think about it. But these are criminals we're dealing with, guys. This is not a fun thing. This isn't just people messing around. These are cyber criminals out there in the world, and this is their way of spreading fear. Not Petya. You guys have all heard of that. The CIA has concluded that a large part of that was from Russia, putting fear and doubt into the economy by spreading these viruses, and that way gaining control of the economy. And again, it sounds melodramatic, but it happens to be true. And we need to let these SMBs know that even though they hear about these large attacks, Target, Wells Fargo, you know, countries, militaries, they are not safe just because they might be a small dry cleaner on the corner. Well, these dry cleaners still are getting attacked. And the fact of the matter is, if these guys can get $2,000 a pop and spread some fear, that's what they're going to do. It says here, costing small and mid-sized businesses $75 billion a year. There's only about $1 billion only that comes from the ransomware. The $75 billion comes from the cost of downtime, businesses going out of business. This is a good number to share with your clients, because clients need stories and they need numbers to really understand what's going on. $75 billion. Something to explain to your customers about what is ransomware. It's not data being stolen. And again, sometimes I think we take it for granted because we are in the IT world. We throw all our phrases around and we're all used to understanding it. Well, if you're a medical office or a legal office, you're not used to this terminology. So we need to explain it to them that it's not about stealing data, because customers will come back and go, well, why would a cyber criminal want any information from me? this is what I do. The data's not valid to them. Well, it's not about the data anymore, as you know. It's about encrypting the files so they can't use them and requesting money so that they get unlocked again. And just make sure you're explaining that to your clients. Don't expect them to understand that, because they don't. And again, if they come back to you with the objection of, oh, well, no one wants my data, because, I'm just a retail shop, or I'm a restaurant or something like that. I say, no, it's not about the content of the data anymore. It used to be, it's not anymore. It's just locking up the data in of itself and demanding the money through Bitcoin. And again, another way that you'll present yourself as a professional, talk about Bitcoin. It's anonymous. You have to prepare. You have to almost open a somewhat bank account-like thing to get access to Bitcoin. Some of our MSPs have their own Bitcoin account that they will help their end users, but we hope we're not paying ransomware. But again, explain this to them. This is a good diagram. This is a map of when our viruses and our ransomware started coming out. And as you can see, in 2010, there was basically absolutely nothing. And now in 2017, 2018, there are literally millions of strains. And it's very similar to a biological virus. They are strains. They adapt. They get worse and easier to infiltrate. And it's worth thinking about it. And we say to ourselves, well, what's the government doing? I mean, this is crime. Is everybody helping? And yeah, the government is. They're giving it a go. But the fact of the matter is, even if they can track down one virus and stop it, find a way to figure out how to stop it moving forward, there's another sort of 3.999 million out there coming out the very, very next day. So explain this to your clients. There are millions of viruses. They've got to protect themselves in a way of restoring their data. This is a state of the channel ransomware report. It's not about Datto. We just put it out there. It's incredibly robust. It's fantastic. At the end, I'll give you a link that you can download this and utilize it. And it's got some brilliant statistics for you and for your clients to really understand what's going out there. So this is from MSPs. We interview you guys. 97% of you know that the ransomware is becoming more and more frequent, and even more of you know that it's going to get worse in the next couple of years. We need to share this with our clients and prospects. 6 in 7 report SMBs victimized by ransomware in the last 2 years. And over half of everybody in the first half of 2017 had already had an attack. These are significant numbers to share. 80%, 8 out of 10 people had experienced a recent attack, and over 1 in 4, over a quarter, has had over 6 attacks in a single day. And that's what we're talking about when you pay the ransomware, because your data isn't in a place where you can restore it. You don't have business continuity, so you're going to pay because you think to yourself, it's only $250, it's only $1,000. Well, if you do that 6 times a day, it's not only $250, is it? And you're literally a sitting duck. You're someone that the criminals are going to target over and over again because you've already given evidence that you're going to pay. We don't want that. We want you MSPs to show them how to back up their data in a fashion that they can restore it in a timely manner and experience virtualization and business continuity while you're doing that. Their businesses have to keep running, and we're the ones that have got to show them how to do it. Excuse me 1 second. Quick sip of water. So as you can see, the ransom requested is between $500 and $2,000. It's not a tiny amount, but it's not enormous, is it? But when you look at the bottom, $300 million paid there over a certain period of time, now you're seeing how widespread this is. It's not just here and there, and that's just in the SMB world. Lots and lots of people are having problems. 50% are reporting a loss of data, loss of devices being able to be used, and 75% have their business threatened due to downtime. That's a horrible, horrible number. That's 3/4 of these SMBs, because they're not protected. They don't have their data, well, they potentially have their data backed up, but not in a method that can ensure them business continuity through virtualization. This is where you need to help them. That's a lot of people having a lot of problems, and this is their livelihood. These guys are SMBs like you. They've got families to support, and this is their business. Sorry, a bit of lag here with my slide. Olivia, can you do a forward for me? I don't appear to be able to. Oh,
Can you
there
see
we
that?
go. I don't know if that was, I can. Was that you? Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know why mine. Anyway, carrying on. So about a third of MSPs reported that ransomware did remain on their client systems after the first attack, which makes sense, doesn't it? If you haven't got the protection, you don't have the secure perimeter, then they're going to come back and attack again. So we've got to make sure that we put in the entire infrastructure of security, another really good opportunity. Make sure you've got the penetration testing, make sure you've got the firewall, intrusion detection, as well as the data backed up. This slide shows you that there's no one vertical that's getting attacked in particular. Like I said, the things that you hear on the news, you do hear about the banks, you hear about the targets of the world, and Facebook, of course, the big story this week about 50 million users getting hacked. But this is a reality. There's no one safe. All of these types of industries are getting hit on a regular basis. And these are the small and medium businesses that you guys are looking after. Look at that. Manufacturing, huge industry for our MSPs, isn't it? Architecture, non-profits, all of the above. And people tend to think that it's only Windows that get hit. Well, the majority are, because the majority of business systems are on Windows, but that doesn't mean that Macs are all safe. People tend to think, oh, I've got a Mac, I'm not going to get hit. And partially, I don't know if you guys recall about, I don't know, a few months ago, there was an ad on television that was about, it was for Macs, and there was this woman all looking happy, and it said something to the extent of no PC viruses. So lots of people sort of went down the road mentally to think, oh, if I've got a Mac, there's no viruses. Well, no, Macs don't get hit by PC viruses. They get hit by Mac viruses, and they're out there. And we've got to remember that that's what's going on, and we need to keep educating our folks. Can you forward again, Olivia? Sorry, I can't. Mine seems to not be working now, my button.
It looks like it went forward. Does it not?
On my screen. I'm still on. Ah, there we go. Sorry about this, guys. There we go. Back and forth. What the good news here is that almost everyone with a proper BDR system in place can fully recover from a ransomware attack. However, without BDR, and when I say BDR, business disaster recovery. So you've got an on-prem, you've got virtualization, you have a method to recover the data, and you have a method to use your data, your business continuity. And I'm not just talking about Datto. This is any kind of a decent BDR system. And the nice thing is you can only get that through MSPs. You can't go down to Best Buy and get a business continuity solution. You can go get a drive, right? You can get tape backup or something, like that, but that is not going to save you from ransomware. You won't be able to get back up and running. So just this slide is really important because I think it really speaks to that. 40% were unable to recover. It's a terrible statistic, but it's very good for you. It's very good for the channel. Get your decent BDR system in place at your client's location. So when they get hit and they phone you, you're ready to get them back in action. You're going to click on, you're going to launch their system on the BDR on-prem, or if you need to in the cloud, you're going to keep them running, and then you're going to recover to a safe new piece of hardware. And that's what we want to see everybody doing. As I said, let's talk about what people are using right now. Backup, right? They're using external hard drives. They're using tapes in the cloud. And that's great. The data's there, but the problem is, here we go, high failure rates. I think we all know that horrible statistic, like 40 to 50% of tape backups fail when people try and recover their data. Manual testing. What's worse is manual backups. You ask your end user, are you doing your backups? Who's doing your backups? Yeah. My guy's doing it. Bob, he's my CFO, my COO, my IT guy. I know he's doing my backups and he's doing his testing. Well, that may be all well and good, but typically when you have the manual human error involved, that's what you've got. You've got human error. And slow recovery time, the real threat to ransomware and cyber attacks. If customers can't recover, they're far more likely to pay, and that's just no good. And the criminals know that, so your risk of infection is higher. This is a great slide that we encourage everyone to use. And the two acronyms that you are probably very familiar with, your RPO and your RTO, recovery point objective, how to get back to that last good backup, your last good session of data, and RTO, recovery time objective. Your recovery point may be easier. Your client may say, yeah, I know exactly where my last good backup is. Great. So that's saved that side of it. Criminals can't, you've got a good set of data somewhere. The problem is, how long is it going to take you to get it back? Recovery time objective. That is what the criminals are counting on with your SMBs, that they know that the clients have no idea how long it will take them to get to that good set of data. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to make sure that we can reduce that. Government, again, what we're talking about with them doing. Yeah, they're doing a bit of investigating. They're out there trying to do it, but honestly, they're not getting very far, as you know. We're not hearing about big syndicates of cyber criminals getting taken down, but they're trying. You see these FBI guys out on the road. They're I think they're probably a lot of retired executives that have been in the FBI, the CIA. They're out there talking to us, aren't they? They're at our road shows. So they're trying to educate us. They're trying to educate the end user on the severity of the problem. That's what the government's doing. But here's what they do best, right? The regulations. And while it's a very good thing for things to be regulated, to be safe, we want everybody's data to be safe, it tends to tie everybody's hands up. You've got small and medium businesses having to report things and make sure they're in compliance with things. That has taken up so much time, and that's where you get involved. You've got to help them with that. Think about all the industries that you're looking after right now, and think about how you can investigate their industries as best possible to find out how to protect them. State, local governments have all got their own types of compliances and regulations, as well as your line of business industries. This is what I want you to do. I want you to make sure for each industry, you are looking up the regulations in your state. Wherever you are, they're going to be different. There's going to be federal regulations that we've all heard of, but there's going to be individual ones for your individual state. Make sure you look those up, be the expert, and protect your end users. Because at the end of the day, all these compliances, what they're doing is they're putting all of the stress onto the end user. They've been hit by ransomware. They've probably lost money. They've probably lost data. And now they're getting fines from the government because they're not in compliance. And this is where you step in and say, right, I know what the rules are in your industry. I know how to help you. This is what we need to do. And almost half of the issue is when you've got all that information and you're helping with them and you're documenting these processes for them, you're basically halfway to the compliancy in a lot of instances. Here's what I want you to do. Think about some of your top industries. Is it, law? Is it dental? Is it the Bar Association? Look up, Google, literally, top 10 security tips in your industry, in your state. And here's what's going to be great. You'll get a list of things and that you can go and educate your clients. Perhaps you'll do a lunch and learn or a webinar like this for a specific line of business. And you can talk to them exactly about how to protect themselves in this world of ransomware and cybercrime. You will present yourself an expert. You will then be able to discuss with them how you can help them. But the bottom line is first you're educating them. And that's the first thing. They need to understand their cyber risks, right? And you can explain that to them. You can give them the statistics, show them the actual information, give them stories to talk about. Atlanta, San Francisco, all of those hacking stories. Happy to share that with you as well. And again, we've got the ransom report. End users tend to focus solely on protection and think that just because they've got a firewall in place, or again, they're backing up their data, that they think it's safe, but it's not. It's about recovering the data. And the more and more we talk about it, hopefully they'll understand when you ask them again and again about their recovery time objective. If your system went down today, Mr. Customer, how long would it take to get your business up and running again? When can your top executives start working again? When can your engineers start working again? When can you do business with your clients again? Explain it's the whole system, Again, not testing the company backups. Customers do tend to, they relax a bit about it. Oh, again, I know Bob down the hallway is doing it for me. Well, have you tested it? Have you tested your backup? Do you know you have a good set of data that you can restore? Not educating staff. I think this is a huge one. I think it's an excellent foot in the door. As much as you think to yourself, you might go to, when you're doing your marketing campaigns, you might think, yeah, I'm going to offer free penetration testing, or I'm going to do a BDR assessment, something of that nature. So you want to go into your prospects, you want to educate and show them. Well, the other side of that is educating the staff on what to do in the instance of an issue. And I think this is so very important. Companies have all of their procedures and processes documented for, say, a fire drill, or perhaps if someone gets injured at work, workman's comp of that nature. What happens if one of your employees gets hit by ransomware, Mr. Client? What if your secretary gets hit by ransomware? Does she know what to do? This is where you educate the staff. You educate them on password management. We're all guilty of that, aren't we? There's been horror stories. Educate them. Have them understand, sit the staff down, have a lunch and learn. Right, we're just going to spend half an hour on how to protect you from a human being standpoint, because as we know, that's one of the massive problems. Not seeking outside help. This, by the way, this is Google. So basically, these sites are essentially telling end users to go through the channel to get some professional IT help. Listed right here. It's excellent. Again, not using a framework, not having these processes documented to help people know what to do in the event of a cyber issue, a computer issue. I think people think because it's not physically threatening, they don't have to have a plan in place. Again, this is where you come in and educate them. You need a plan in place to protect yourself. And if you don't feel like your plan is aggressive enough, you're not gonna get your data back in time. Let me put something in place that is gonna help you. And that's when we talk about what we consider intelligent business continuity. And what does that mean? And talk to your client. How do you explain this to your client in ways that make sense? Hybrid cloud-based backup. Really simple phrase to us, but it's not necessarily to a lawyer, to a doctor, to a dentist. It's not their business. Hybrid, right? In two places. So explain an on-premise piece of hardware where your data lives, backed up from your servers, and it then gets transported to the cloud where it's also backed up. So now we've got at least two sets of your data backed up, Mr. Client. It's automated. This is not manual. It's not you doing it. It's not Bob down the hallway. You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to take care of it for you. It's image-based, and I'll show you a visual in a minute that you can share with them. And virtualization capabilities. Should something happen to your server, Mr. Customer, I'm going to make sure that you can get right back up and running immediately so that you can keep working, and whilst I'm working on getting your server back. So when you back up your data here, we've got two data centers specifically for Datto. One is in the East Coast in Reading, Pennsylvania, and one's in Utah. So you back up your data on-prem, on the computer on-premise. Sorry, having a bit of lag again. There we go. There we go. So you've got your infrastructure. It gets backed up to your Datto device on-premise. So there you go, Mr. Client. You've got your first set of data, and then to the two clouds off-site. So now really, there's nothing that could happen that is going to compromise your data. We've got some really safe, secure copies of it. Should something happen, that's the first thing to explain to them. It's automated. When I set up your backups, depending on how frequently, they're going to happen by themselves. So in this instance, we're going every hour between 8 a.m. and 6 or 7 p.m. here. So every hour, we're going to back up the differences so that Mr. Client, I've got a good copy of your latest data every hour. And that should explain to them how that works. And now we're going to test. We're going to make sure that they're all green. We've got our last 10 backup attempts. They all worked. Our local backup has worked. Explain to them. So that one copy that's at your office, it's a good copy. I can see right here it's not compromised, and it's going to be restorable if we need to. And there's our offsite backups. They're working as well. So in the event that something happens on site and we need to virtualize you in the cloud, we're all good to go. And this is how you show them very simply. And I think visualization is very good for the vast majority of learners. We like to see things and understand how they work. Image-based, this can be a little bit confusing for our end users. So I like to simplify it. File-based backup, it's literally what it sounds like. You have a file, a set of files, and you copy them somewhere else, one by one. Here they go. They're now located somewhere else. Should something happen, you can bring them back. The difference with image-based backup is that it copies everything, your system, your applications, and your files. So essentially, a whole copy of the computer is going on to another computer, essentially making it the same. What happens when you need to restore? And this is what we need to explain it to them. If you have file-based backup, you've got to put your operating system back on somewhere, you've got to put your applications back on somewhere, and then you can bring your files back. So it's a longer process. It isn't as efficient or as effective. When you have image-based backup, you've already got everything good to go. So imagine that, Mr. Client, your whole server has basically been mirrored over here. We're just going to put it back so you can get right back to working immediately. And I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that for them. And you can show them this. This is an actual screenshot. We choose a recovery point. If something happened at 10 a.m. on Monday, we go straight, or 11 a.m. on Monday, we go back to 10 a.m. where we had our last good copy of data. We choose it and we store it right from there. Very, very good. And in the meantime, this is how we virtualize. And I think this is a good way to explain it to them. Again, something happens at 11 a.m. We go to 10 a.m. That's where our good set of data is. And we literally spin it up from there, right? There's our original server. It's got ransomware on it. But previously, we've got our copy on our Datto machine right there on premise. It's a server right there. Instantly, literally, all you do is click to that restore. You saw how quick that was. And your image is going to come up on Datto and everybody can keep working in your office. It's what you explain it to them. And your employees probably wouldn't even notice. It would just, a few seconds because you're switching to another server. You're still in production. And this is a very good thing to explain to them. They will dramatically reduce downtime. Literally seconds, minutes, depending on how much data we're talking about. But most end users don't have that much data that it's going to compromise. Helps your restore time objective. Again, that was the important one. Restore point, yes, we understand that. But most people have got a good set of data somewhere. The important thing is the time to get it back to production and explaining that to them. And the local and the cloud options. Very, very good. You've got your local. Some things do happen on site, especially with people. So you've got your cloud opportunity as well to virtualize. And these are good things to explain. And again, we've taken out that part of the puzzle, right? We've got a good set of data. We've actually got 3 sets of data now, Mr. Customer, that we can choose from to restore the point. And now, because the timing is off, we're going to virtualize you immediately. The criminals cannot compromise you thinking you have too much time to recover. This is taken off the table. You are safe. You do not have to pay ransomware, and you won't have to because I have you fully protected. Your company's protected. Your data is protected. You won't have downtime. You won't lose money. We're keeping you in business and keeping you profitable. And that's the name of the game. And that's what we're talking about here. Helping you help them make money. So we said a little bit about SaaS. Cloud is not immune. This is the percentage of some of our popular SaaS programs that have been compromised. Dropbox, Office, G Suite Box, even Salesforce.com. I mean, these are big household names that have been affected in the cloud too. So we've got to look after that. And how do we do that? You guys probably know the shared responsibility model, right? We've all pressed that button. Google Drive can't, would you like to download this file anyway? Yes, I will. Boom. This is a spoof Microsoft ransomware that was actually created by a white hat hacker to demonstrate that it can be hacked. This is an email that comes through to you that I can't imagine anybody not clicking on. It looks exactly like it comes from Microsoft. Click on the email. Suddenly, everything is encrypted, except, of course, for that one that asks you for your money, as we discussed earlier. So this is what you have to show your clients. We are not immune to it. Even Office 365 can be hacked. But here's where we want to help you make money. It is very easy to monetize it because of the shared responsibility model. Google and Microsoft basically tell us that they're responsible for having your data in the cloud, but they're not responsible for what happens to it when it's in the cloud. They literally are telling you the ability. They had this up there for a long time. If you can see that, we cannot guarantee you'll be able to recover your data. We recommend that your backups are kept in an external, non-mapped or not synced storage. They're basically telling clients to utilize an IT provider such as yourself to protect their data somewhere else. So let's make a copy of it somewhere else. Let's save it somewhere else. Let's protect them. They're basically being told. They took that page off because I think they knew we were showing people, but that's what you've got to do. I think it's really, really important. We've got SaaS data backup. Utilize it. Utilize it for your G Suites, and your Office 365 data for your clients. Very, very important. So we've talked about recovery time objective, using business continuity to make sure that you can protect your clients and you can go to them and you can educate them on all the things that are important. You've got to show them that they've got to be able to recover their data so that they can protect themselves from ransomware. And that's the first way that you can capture your share of the market, business continuity. Second one is educate them. Learn the regulations of all of your lines of businesses, your industries. Learn the state regulations, learn your federal regulations so that you can go to them as the expert, be the consultant, and educate them for free as much as you can that makes sense for you as an MSP, and be the expert. Then they're going to come back to you and ask for your services. So business continuity, education, and finally, don't forget about the SaaS backup. Very, very important to know that it's not just the physical data at risk. Backing up their SaaS is incredibly important as well, because it's at risk out there. So here are some of those things that we discussed. Business Guide to Ransomware. This is that very comprehensive channel report about ransomware. It's got the statistics that you can share with your clients. It's got excellent visuals to show them about the industries. You know, your industry isn't safe, sir. I know you might think because you're a local restaurant on the corner, you're the local dry cleaner, you're the nail techs. It doesn't make you safe. Criminals are still going to attack you because they think you'll pay. So let's download that. It shows you about a disaster demo. If you're not familiar with the famous Datto disaster demos, then I recommend you have a look. We have a lot of fun blowing up servers and whatnot to show how quickly we can virtualize on the Datto machines. And if you fancy doing that for your clients, then we're happy to help you. It's sort of a bit of fun, and it's an excellent way to show them how quickly you can fail over their data and keep them in production. So the disaster demo, lots of fun there. And then we've got the BDR calculator and recovery time calculator. What that does, it walks you and your client through basically how much data have you got, if your server went down, what's going to be affected, how many people would not be able to do their jobs, you know, what sort of salary are they making every hour. And after you put the data in, at the end of it, it will literally give you how much money you'd lose based on the recovery time objective. So if they know they can't get their data back for 2 days because it's in some cloud application that doesn't have virtualization, doesn't have proper recovery, or the bandwidth is too small to recover the data in a timely fashion, how much money are they going to lose in those 2 days? That's what it's going to show you and your client. So you can then come back and go, right, listen, I really think you need a proper BDR solution. Here's the options on the table. Let's put one on-prem. Let's make sure your data is somewhere that it can be virtualized. We can recover it when we need to. And this is exactly the information you need just to show your client. And it's got a nice report to it too. And network detective, basically the same sort of thing, right? You're going in, you're doing an assessment of the network. How safe are we, right? Do we need to do another vulnerability assessment? Great tools to get in the door to show your client what you can do for them. So shoot an email to abc@datto.com, put Rev.io in your title, and what it'll do, it just immediately gives you a bounce back with this data. No one's going to phone you. It's going to give you the bounce back info immediately today, and you can go through this information and you can choose what you'd like to share with your clients and what's going to help you. And I sincerely hope that these 3 things, your business continuity, your education about the regulations, and then backing up their SaaS data, those are 3 things today that I'm hoping will help you get in the doors of more prospects and help you make some more money, because that's what it's all about. I thank everyone very much for listening, and I think we probably have some time for questions if anybody's got any of those. Lovely.
Great, thank you so much. So on behalf of the entire Rev.io team, I'd like to thank you, Tania, for joining us today and for putting together that fantastic presentation about security threats and the things that we can be doing to proactively protect ourselves and stay secure.
Great.
Before we begin the Q&A portion of the presentation, I would just like to remind our audience that you will receive the full webinar recording via email. And in addition, if you have submitted any questions during the presentation that don't get addressed during our live Q&A, we will be sure to follow up with you individually via email. So now I'd like to just ask a couple of questions from our audience. So first, what's the best way to explain to a prospect the security threats they face without scaring them too much or going too far?
Sure. Yeah, good question. And really, what I've been talking about. I mean, let's talk about some statistics. I would definitely look up the industry from the prospect that you're talking about. So make it as specific as possible, not generic. So if it's from, a lawyer, like, yeah, what kind of threats should I be worried about? Go straight there. Look up the legal industry, and be very specific about statistics of hacks that have happened, things that have happened in the geographical area, and really get down to the nitty gritty and then explain it to them. Say, look, over 60% of SMBs have been hacked, over 25% have been hacked more than 5 times, and these are true statistics. And I don't think it's going over the edge. I think it's being honest with them and it's giving them good information. But hopefully it'll hit home, because if you, for example, are in Cleveland, Ohio, and you want to quote statistics of, hacks that have been made on legal entities in Cleveland, Ohio, that's going to hopefully hit home with a lawyer you're talking to who's in Cleveland, Ohio. So I would get that granular.
Awesome, thank you. And then the last question before we wrap up today is, where can I find more statistics about small businesses being hit with ransomware? Since it's hard for them to relate to large attacks like, the city of Atlanta.
Yeah, sure. So right here, send an email to abc@datto.com. You'll get that ransomware report. And I just really encourage you, or you can go to datto.com, our website, and it truly is a channel report. This isn't a plug on Datto. These are good statistics for you to share with your clients. So find that channel ransomware report, and I really think it's going to have everything you need. And of course, if you've got any questions, you can always shoot me a note, tsheppard@datto.com, for any other data, and we're happy. That's what we do. We like arming you guys with as much data as possible, so you can go out and educate your prospects and clients and protect them. And everybody's up and running and making money.
Great. Okay, well, thank you all so much, and thank you for joining us today. And with that, I will let everyone get back to their Thursday. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you.